has grown from strength to strength, connecting executives from
Hello, check. Hello, mic test. Zoom text, test. Okay, perfect. Ella pakka varukla. Okay. Avandita na keela.
And above all, exposure to unique global
Check.
networking opportunities.
Hello.
Rajendran?
Yeah. It's okay, I think now. Hello.
Yes, I can hear your voice.
Okay. இது தனியா விட்டுரும்.
கேமரா கேபிள் கனெக்ட் பண்ணி வச்சிருவோம் எல்லாத்தையும் வந்தோடனே டக்குன்னு அப்படியே மாற்றம் இருக்கு.
Some of the distinguished leaders in India and the world with distinguished fellowships for their outstanding leadership and public service.
பிபிடி மட்டும்தானே இங்க தேவை, மத்த எல்லாம் தேவையில்லையே.
பிபிடி மட்டும் பேசலாம் வச்சுக்கோங்க. பேசலாம் லாஸ்டா தமிழ் தாய் வாழ்த்து. இப்போ ஆடியோ இருக்கு சார், ஆடியோ நான் தமிழ் தாய் வாழ்த்து நான் பாத்துக்கிறேன்.
Distinguished Fellow of the IOD in June 1994.
Encourage and support people in different walks of life towards contributing to the national good, national development, right justice. Is now being led by corporates and people who are
Satyabhama Institute of Science and Technology, Chennai.
Hello? Hello?
Hello. Hello, Rajendran.
Check.
Yeah, please.
Check.
Hello, Mr. Ravi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, all perfect now.
But earlier no voice was
Video check,
coming.
video
So,
check.
Now it's okay, I think.
Video check.
Mic test.
Check. Audio, check. Audio check.
கொஞ்சம் volume by
Audio check.
கேமரால இருந்து வருதா இதுல இருந்து வருதா
mic.
கேமரால இருந்து உங்களுக்கு அப்படி வருதா
கேமரால இருந்து அங்க நீங்க வருது.
அப்ப இந்த ஆடியோ தேவை இல்ல கேமரா தனியா இருக்குமா இது ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கொடுங்க ஓகே கேமரா அவுட்டர் இருந்து வருது தேவை
இங்க இருந்து
இந்த சின்ன கேபிள் போட்டுருக்கேன் அதை எடுத்து எனக்கு கொடுத்துருங்க அதை எடுத்து உங்களுக்கு போட்டு பாத்தீங்கன்னா கேமரா தானே ஃபுல்லாவே
ஆமா கேமரால இருந்து வருதுதான்.
இது இங்க இருந்து அவுட்டா?
உங்க லேப்டாப் அவுட் எடுத்து இன்னும் கொடுங்க சார் எனக்கு. உங்க லேப்டாப் அவுட் எடுத்து எனக்கு இன்னும் என் கேபிள் எனக்கு கொடுத்துருங்க. இந்த கேபிள்
இங்க இருந்து அவுட் தானே கொடுத்துருக்குறா. அதான்
அவ்வளவுதான் மாதிரி
கரெக்ட் அவ்வளவுதான். இங்க இருந்து
இந்த லேப்டாப் தேவை இல்ல இந்த ஜாக்கெட்
அது தேவை தேவை.
எடுத்துட்டு வா.
கேமரால இருந்து ஸ்ட்ரைட்டா வந்துரும் ஆடியோ.
செக்
Hello.
Yes, Rajendra.
Out varda. Hello.
Yes, Rajendra.
Okay, very good. Okay, both side we can hear.
Okay, fine.
Adu camera camera la irundhu varalaya.
Check, check. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Hello, check. Okay, le.
Institute. Besides being a digitally formidable bank, keeping with the changing times and banking needs, flagship products like Ind Oasis mobile app are complemented by innovations of Ind Springboard, Adya, MSME Prerna and more. And the bank emerged as the 7th largest public sector bank and became twice as good. Indian Bank, your own bank, always with you.
One thing has remained constant as we continue to move from one milestone to another, our collective spirit of going beyond. We believe in pioneering and not just embracing the trend. SIFI began as a connectivity player to become India's first private internet service provider, creator of the Internet Cafe, enablers of voice and data service for international call centers. We believe in being comprehensive, not just a part of the whole. 2 decades and a whole lot of innovation later, we extended our DNA into the largest ICT ecosystem, data center and cloud services, network services, digital services, technology integration services. We believe in reaching out and not just expanding in numbers and figures. SIFI connects millions through the largest MPLS network, enterprise-class network infrastructure, 3,400 network nodes across India, 1,400 plus cities, 100G access metro rings in 5 cities, and 10G access metro ring in 4 plus cities, 110,000 plus enterprise end customer connects, India's largest data center and cloud infrastructure services, 10 existing top-of-the-line data centers and connecting 50 plus data centers pan-India, another 250 megawatt and multiple data centers in the pipeline. Best-in-class multi and hybrid cloud deployments over a single pane of glass, enabled by Cloud Anywhere Cloud Infinite Gen 5 cloud management platform. Infinite Digital Services offering digital infrastructure for app modernization and management, covering Kubernetes as a service, DevSecOps, CI/CD configuration and management for innovation on the go and faster time to market. IoT and digital trust services, to explore emerging possibilities with 5G and edge infrastructures, digital partnerships with 10,000 plus organizations across industries, global presence across North America, Europe, United Kingdom, and Singapore. We believe in disrupting and not just following trends. With a 360-degree view of the IT infrastructure, we have the competitive advantage to power next-generation automation, machine learning, and AI. We believe in empowering people and not just supporting them. Once you're a part of SIFI, we train to make you future-ready by building capabilities, sharpening expertise, nurturing the spirit of leadership through a holistic learning and development program, validated and asserted by quizzes, labs practice, assessments, and in-house certifications. Halfway into the year, and we already have 2,814 trained employees, 66,000 hours of virtual classroom, e-learning, OEM portals, and professional workshops modes. We believe in reaching collective excellence, not just hiring the best people. SIFI allows you to unwind out of the endless juggles of coding and work across the spectrum while staying atop the ICT ecosystem and at the forefront of the evolving cloud and digital services realm with competencies in any cloud and digital infrastructure, automation, low-code frameworks, and consumable AI ML. We believe in innovation, transformation, excellence, people, attracting prestigious accolades to our name. SIFI gets a double win at the Global HR Excellence Awards 2021, Talent Management Practices and Excellence in Learning and Development. SIFI Technologies recognized in 2020 Gartner Market Guide for Public Cloud Managed and Professional Services Providers, Asia Pacific. Recognition in Market Guide for Security Testing and Consulting Services in India 2021. Recognition in Market Guide for Backup as a Service 2021. SIFI Technologies breaks into the top 500 of Fortune India ranking. World Leadership Congress recognizes Kamal Nath as CEO of the Year. SIFI Technologies celebrates 20 years on NASDAQ. We are SIFI Technologies, a leading integrated ICT player in India, helping customers to achieve their digital ambition through cloud at core products and services, built on its world-class data centers, cloud and network assets, and wide portfolio of professional and digital services. We believe in going beyond, keeping you ahead, always.
பாட்டி இதுல தனியா 8 மணி நேரம் வைக்கிறதால காப்பரோட பெனிஃபிட்ஸ் கிடைக்குது.
Such a waste of time.
Aquaguard with instant copper.
எல்லாரும்
Aquaguard ஆக முடியாது.
Revolution in the boardroom. Nurturing directors of the future. With that unique mission, the Institute of Directors was set up in India in the year 1990 by late Dr. Mahathir Mehra. A vision to fulfill the needs of professional development.
Can you hear me?
Apex Association of Corporate Directors, and also as a centre of excellence, preparing new directors and building boards for tomorrow.
Good evening. Before we commence, may I please request you to turn off your mobiles or keep it on silent mode? Thank you. May we please rise for the Kamal Kai welcome. From leading nations to standing up for human rights to running the world's most important organizations, women continue to shape the world through their leadership. Befittingly today, Vicky Flo, Chennai, in collaboration with Institute of Directors, brings to you this evening a riveting event, Women in Leadership in a Globalized Economy. May I request Honorable Thiru S. Krishnan, IAS, Additional Chief Secretary, Department of Industries, Tamil Nadu, Mr. Alec Abdi, Consul General of Russia, Chennai, Dr. Sundari Suresh, Regional Director, Institute of Directors, Mr. Lalit Kumar, Chartered Accountant, and Mrs. Jayashree Ravi, Chairperson Vicky Flo Chennai, to light the lamp and kindly take your seats on the stage. Yeah, lamp first. May I invite Dr. Sundari Suresh to felicitate Honorable Thiru S. Krishnan. May I request Mrs. Jayashree Ravi to honor Mr. Alec Abdi. May I call upon Dr. Sundari Suresh to felicitate Mr. Lalit Kumar.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's immense pleasure to have you all with us. Institute of Directors, in association with Vicky Flo, proudly presents Inspirational Women Directors Conclave 2022 on Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in COVID-19 World. International Women's Day is a celebration of achievements made by women throughout the history and signifies a continued vision for gender equality. First, it was celebrated over centuries ago. Now the day is very prominent, importance, and embraced globally to collectively recognize the women, especially on their success on various fields. And the success of women, great women, both past, present, and future, they have contributed to the entire global economy as well as home. Come, let's cherish the celebrating our women in workforce. And I request Dr. Sundari to deliver the welcome message.
Thank you, Mr. Dinesh. Good evening, all. It's very colorful here, and it's a day for the women, but equal representation from the men community also. Thank you all for coming here. Investing in women leads to stronger societal and economic outcomes. This year, the theme for International Women's Day is Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow. IOD Chennai region, in association with Fiki Flow, proudly presents to you Women in Leadership in a Globalized Economy, focusing on the theme of bridging diversity and women empowerment in a COVID-19 world. Today, IOD and Fiki Flow appreciates the work of the heroines and who have come across the social, economic, cultural, and political sectors. The day also represents the continued fight for equality to eliminate discrimination and bias between genders. To quote from Aristotle, it is during our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light. I sincerely welcome our Honorable Thiru S. Krishnan, IAS Additional Chief Secretary, Department of Industries, Government of Tamil Nadu, who in spite of his busy schedule has consented to be our chief guest for the event and address on the topic of women leaders in business, challenges and opportunities, especially focusing in Tamil Nadu. Welcome you, sir. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. We also heartily welcome our beloved Consul General of Russia, Mr. Oleg N. Avdiv, who will be addressing on the topic of female leadership in the context of entrepreneurship in Russia. Welcome you, sir. I take the pleasure to welcome Mr. Lalit Kumar, who's a chartered accountant, cost accountant, company secretary, and a certified financial manager. And he's a partner of LKR Advisories. Welcome you, sir. And happy to welcome from our event partners, Dr. Anita Suryanarayanan, Dr. Vijaya Rangarajan, Ms. Anupama Sivaraman, who will be giving their experiences shortly. And I heartily welcome all our IOD members, dear members, spanning across several industries across India. And to name a few who are being felicitated today are Mr. Rajkumar from Grundfos, Mr. Dakshinamurthy of DD Projects, Ms. Valerie Rath of Indian Bank, Mr. Kannan of Satyam Homes, Ms. Jayashree from Sifi Technologies, Mr. Suresh of India Cements Capital, Mr. Vikash of Mindin Tea, Mr. Ramakrishnan and Mrs. Gayatri of BRK Academy. Welcome you all. And a very special mention and welcome to our event partners, Sifi Technologies, Indian Bank, Hand in Hand, Eureka Forbes, Satyam Homes, Sri Ranga Polymers, Unibic, and ITEX Dazzler Etina. I welcome my co-host, Ms. Jayashree, who is the chairman of Fiki Flow, and all the fellow Fiki Flow members. Thank you so much, ladies. You come in huge numbers, and that makes a day very, very fulfilled. Thank you so much. And wonderful gathering of women and men in business community. Again, to quote from Abraham Lincoln, don't worry when you are not recognized, but strive to be worthy of recognition. Let's lead and build. Thank you so much.
Mrs. Jayashree Ravi, Chairperson Fiki Flow Chennai, will convey her salutations.
Good evening, all. It is indeed a beautiful evening. A very warm welcome to one and all present here. I also extend a hearty welcome to Honorable Thiru S. Krishnan, IAS, Additional Chief Secretary, Department of Industries, Tamil Nadu, Mr. Oleg N. Avdiv, Honorable Consulate General of Russia, and Mr. Lalit Kumar, a chartered accountant and certified financial manager. It's an honor to have you all among us today. We at Flow Chennai are in collaboration with the Institute of Directors and are proud to present to you this event in view of the International Women's Day. We are happy to welcome past chairs, past presidents, GB members, and dear members of Flow Chennai, the dignitaries and members of the Institute of Directors, and our very beloved guests. Flow was established in 1983 with a crystal clear mission to empower women across India, to provide financial, physical, and emotional stability to all women, regardless of the societal status or background. As an all India organization for women, Flow has 18 chapters and 8,000 members pan-India. Our Chennai chapter is more than 350 members strong. We conduct speaker events, beneficial workshops, and several social projects like blood donation and vaccine campaigns all through the year. We primarily focus on skilling and upskilling, which yield talented young individuals. We provide information on startups, how to gain ground and meet the right people to kickstart one's entrepreneurial journey. Several women, including Flow members, are beneficiaries to our valuable courses and workshops. The support we receive has only multiplied as the years go by, and we remain truly grateful to our well-wishers. On this International Women's Day, I'm proud to say that we have among our own Flow members several inspiring women who are achievers in their respective fields. For us here at Flow, every day is Women's Day as we bond, learn, inspire, and empower one another every passing minute. I'm not going to keep you waiting any further. I'm sure that all of you are eager to listen to the eminent speakers we have here on stage with us. Without doubt, this is going to be an enriching and inspiring 60 minutes ahead of us. Once again, I welcome all of you on behalf of Flow Chennai. Thank you.
There is a small change in the program in the agenda. Honorable Thiru S. Krishnan has requested that our FICCI Flow members share their experiences before he talks. Thank you, sir. In the words of Joanne Chula, leadership is not a person or a position. It is a complex moral relationship between people based on trust, obligation, commitment, emotion, and a shared vision of the good. Our members of FICCI Flow Chennai, Mrs. Anupama Shivaraman, Dr. Vijay Bharati Rangarajan, and Dr. Anita Suryanarayan will steer us through their brilliant success journeys. Mrs. Anupama Shivaraman, National Governing Body member and past chairperson FICCI Flow, is a chartered accountant by profession with a national rank in the Chartered Accountant course to her credit. She has 2 decades of experience with the Shri Ram Group in finance and corporate planning of multiple business verticals. She is the director of the Shri Ram Leadership Academy, spearheading their e-learning initiatives. She is passionate about civic causes and is a committee member of the Gopalapuram Welfare Association, which works to improve the infrastructure, environmental, water and waste management in the community. A firm believer in a healthy work-life balance, we are all ears to her enchanting progress. Welcome, Anupama.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Jayashree, for inviting me here to share my journey and my life lessons with all of you. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. I grew up in Hyderabad, where my father was an IAS officer, a middle-class South Indian family, but luckily very broad-minded. There was no distinction made between my brother and me in terms of our upbringing and education. I was always told that women must be educated and financially independent. That was my first lesson. Gender equality starts in childhood, at home, where boys and girls must be taught that they are equal and to respect each other. Lesson number 2, the values imparted by my parents, like hard work, discipline, punctuality, honesty, and academic excellence, are invaluable even today. They were the reason I was a school topper, a university gold medalist in my BCom degree, and a national rank holder in my CA course. Lesson number 3, Indian girls are like Dashawataram. I always say this. Though I'm a CA, I'm also a Bharatanatyam dancer and a Veena player. I have an advanced diploma in French. From a young age, we women learn to multitask and be a daughter, wife, mother, and professional. It's not easy, but it is essential. And believe me, women are far better than men at multitasking. Sorry about that. And then came my next life lesson. Halfway through my CA, I got married, like many girls in their early 20s in those times. CA is a very tough course, as Mr. Lalit can tell you. Only 20% of people pass the exam. And it's not easy to study after marriage. I had to shift to Chennai, a new city, new family, a new life. It would have been easy to give up. Believe me, I was tempted. But I persevered thanks to the support of my family, and not only passed in the first attempt, but also managed to pass with a good rank. I learned that where there is a will, there is a way. As Anne Ryan said, for women, the question isn't who is going to let you. The question is, who is going to stop you? Millions of Indian girls discontinue their education and leave the workforce after marriage and childbirth. Therefore, the next lesson I learned, which I tell all young girls today, the choice of your life partner is the most important decision you make. Make sure your partner supports your dreams. Life is unpredictable, and it's not enough to be professionally qualified. Women must be financially independent. I learned this lesson because my grandmother had faced a tragedy very early in life when she lost my grandfather, and she had 3 young daughters to be married off. Inheritance laws in India are not fair to women. This is the most important lesson for women. It is financial independence that brings true gender equality. I started working in the Sri Ram Group. I learned that when a woman enters a meeting room or a boardroom, she is in a man's world. But I learned an important lesson. As women, we cannot demand respect. We have to command respect by the way we work, the way we behave, the way we dress, the way we speak, and the way we carry ourselves. Women often lack confidence in themselves because they don't know their true worth. We need to own what we do and give it total commitment. And people will have no choice but to give you the recognition and respect you deserve. My 25 years of work experience with the Sri Ram Group has shown me why women leave the workforce and what we can do to bridge the gender gap. Women need flexible hours. Women need maternity leave. Women need childcare and support systems. Thankfully, the COVID pandemic and technology has allowed work from home. It's a blessing for most women. Ironically, every time I had an important meeting in the office, there will be a crisis at home. It's Murphy's Law. And this is more challenging when you have young children. So I took a break for 5 years after my son was born, because you can delegate driving to a driver. You can delegate cooking to a cook. But the one job you cannot delegate is parenting. When your child is running 102 fever, the mother jolly well be there. I wanted to be a hands-on mother. So I took a break and returned to work after 5 years when my son was in full day school, and I never regretted it. Today, I'm proud to say I made it for every school day, every PTA meeting, and every birthday party. It required multitasking and time management. It required me to compromise, prioritize, and sacrifice. Women get so caught up with work and family that they sometimes forget to take care of themselves. I make time for my friends, my fitness, my personal hobbies, swimming, gardening, music, and dance. I take an active part in my welfare association because my neighborhood matters to me. As a family, we plan at least one trip a year to a new country. In fact, the last trip we made just before COVID was to Russia, which is a beautiful country. Travel is a great teacher. It gives you a global perspective of business, of life, meeting new people, new experiences. And finally, as women, we must get out of our comfort zone, because that's where the magic happens. When I took on the post of chairperson at FICCI Flow in 2019, it required a lot of hard work, planning, and time management. But I took up the challenge to balance my family and FICCI Flow. I remember celebrating our last Women's Day exactly 3 years ago in this very hotel as chairperson, and the chief guest was none other than Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, the then defense minister. In Flow, I learned the value of teamwork. Teamwork truly makes your dream work. And I learned that when you give your 100%, even the universe conspires to help you in your journey. Friends, thank you all for being part of my journey. I hope the lessons I shared help you all reach greater heights. I end with the words of Indra Nooyi. Whatever you do, put your head, heart, and soul in it. At the end of the day, don't forget you are a person. Don't forget you are a mother. Don't forget you are a wife and a daughter. And no matter how much money or success you have, what is also important is friends, family, and faith in yourself. Happy Women's Day to all of you today and every day of your lives. Thank you.
Dr. Vijay Bharati Rangarajan, past chairperson FICCI Flow, is a reputable dentist by profession with a fellowship in implant dentistry and the recipient of Outstanding Dentist Award, besides her many other accolades in the field of cancer and flood relief. She's currently the trustee and director, Sundaram Medical Foundation, Dr. Rangarajan Memorial Hospital, head of the Department of their Dental and Oral Maxillofacial Surgery, Facilitators Coordinator Hospital Projects. Most appealing is being the founder and executive director of CanStop, an NGO working in cancer support. She will join the dots for us on how she is fulfilling her life's destiny and the humongous difference she's making in the life of others. The floor is yours, Vijaya.
Thank you, buddy. For that introduction. So nice to be up here after a long time. How is everyone today? Good. It's a familiar place and nice to be back with all of you, especially in-person meeting that we haven't had for so long. So it's absolutely thrilling to see faces that we're talking to rather than on our laptops and our Zoom calls and everything. So thank you for the invite, President Jayashree, for chairperson. And I'm really happy and honored to be here with you all today. To all the dignitaries, a warm welcome to all of you on stage and to all the dear friends that I know. So many familiar faces. I'm really excited to be here amongst all of you. I was given 5 minutes by Jayashree and she said, please share some of your thoughts. So I'm going to try to keep it within that. And when people ask you, what are you doing? Like, who are you today? It's very difficult sometimes because I think that I'm still a work in progress. I'm still thinking and wondering and doing and wanting to do so many things. So I'm just going to share a few thoughts that I have that along the way that I have come from across the seas, so to say. First of all, I'm going to just have a few points. Failures, they say, beget success. Why? Because inside of failure, we learn to grow. We learn to recover. So I feel that we need to embrace challenges and opportunities equally. You know, when I was only 42 rather, I lost my husband to cancer. So it was a very fearful time for me, making the right decisions that I had to do for my children, for my workplace, for the hospital that both of us had created. It was daunting to say the least. And although I was born in India, my family had left to the UK, and then we moved to US and to Canada. And you can imagine my returning here in the 80s, my bewilderment when I got married and came to Chennai. It was quite a different place to be from what I was used to. But along the way, when this was happening, I feel another point to remember is that as women, we have to be visible. By that, I mean, most of the time, we're waiting in the wings. We're in the background. We have to move from being invisible to being visible. We need to speak out. It's the fear sometimes of just stepping out and not being good enough. We feel that maybe that's not the job we can do. So something holds us back. So learn to speak up. That is something that if you don't speak up, I feel others begin to talk for you. They begin to speak for you. And when the question comes up whether I should continue to work because of all that was happening in my life at the time, I thought it was time to remind the men and the women in my family about my educational background. Yes, I finished my BSc honors, I did my MBA, then I went into my dental surgery. So I kept telling them, I think I am qualified to be where I am today with the hospital, so just give me a chance. And I think that's the time when you need to speak up and make it happen, because otherwise, even your family, your own family don't really understand sometimes what your needs are and where you need to be. So that was just a little bit of a reminder to the family. And at the same time, we know that we all feel a bit of guilt about what we have to do. Going to work in the morning every day was kind of okay when you have small children, everyone goes off, but it was always coming back home. Why are you so late? You're late again. Like, you know, it was always this questioning. I remember even my beautiful little golden retriever that I had, Kyla, she would just, like, I don't know, uncanny about it. She would hold on to my sari every time I came late. And I don't know how she knew, but she knew that I was late. And so it was like, not just my kids, even my pet would be wondering. We have to have courage, ladies, because sometimes when the spotlight is on us, more doubts creep in. So don't let the fear of failing and the fear of succeeding sometimes also puts pressure on us, because more time away from the family. So have the courage and speak your truth. Feel the passion for what you want to do. It doesn't matter what it is. As long as you feel the passion and you want to go to work, it's not work anymore. It's just a place you want to be. So make it happen. Sometimes it's okay, we go in slowly, slow steps are good. But sometimes if you know what you need to do and where to go, just jump in. Jump in, and I think with both feet in and just do the best you can, that's all anyone is asking. Because women can be very good negotiators. And why is it that women, we don't see too many women at the top of the ladder? Out of 190 heads of state, do you know that there's only 9 women? And in the parliament, there's only 13% of women. And somewhere else I saw was, in the corporate world, 13 to 15% are women. Surprisingly, I found that even running NGOs, there's only 20% of women who are at the top of it. So that was something new that I learned. But still, in spite of all this, I think we're luckier than our mothers, who had a lot of, limited in their career choices. And they didn't have the freedom to educate themselves and do what they wished, and the push that they got from their families and the support. Here, I must tell you the story of my mother. It's quite an interesting story because, like I said, we left India in 1957 or so, and we traveled there. So my mom was quite young. She was 25. We were just little toddlers. And she was, my father was a very learned man. He was a nuclear physicist. But my mom studied till grade 5. Her parents thought that that was all. And other skills that she should learn were actually like, home, being a housewife, cooking and sewing and embroidery. And she did learn to play the violin, which she was very proud of. And but she didn't know any English. So when we moved to US and Canada, it was always like, telling my mom, don't come to the school with us because you can't speak to the teachers. You don't know what to ask them. Let dad do the questions, let dad ask and all that. So she was always pushed to the back about all of this. I think she got tired of that. So one day she said, okay, I'm going to go to night school and I want to study and finish my grade 12. So that's exactly what she did. She would go every night, finish night school. And eventually she even learned to drive because my father said, this is getting tiring, driving you to college every day, every night after I finish a long day. So she said, never mind. I learned how to drive. I'll go myself. That's what she did. Then after getting her grade 12, she wanted a job. So she asked my dad, I want a job. I want to be a lab assistant. He said, no way. How can you don't know anything about? So she said, never mind. So she went to his boss and said, these are the reasons why I think I could be a good lab assistant. And she negotiated a deal with him and she got the job. So I learned a lot about equal opportunity and to ask and keep asking, because don't be fearful of a no, it can happen. As a society, I think we put a lot of pressure on our boys to succeed than we do on our girls. I think there is some change that's happening. Things are moving in a different directions, and I can see that in the last 20 years. I have 2 children, one son who is surrounded by, he says he is surrounded by exceptional women at home and at work. And all his bosses are women. So he says he's still learning from them, which is a good thing. And my daughter, I wish not just to succeed, but to be liked and appreciated for her accomplishments. And I think that's what we should encourage. As women today here, let's encourage our coworkers. Let's encourage our staff, our sisters, our daughters, and let's teach them that this is the best way to go forward and reach your goals. I feel not enough of that is being said. I was lucky to have the men in my life encourage me and to do my best. My father, my husband, my father-in-law even, and my kids are my biggest supporters. In the end, don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, what brings out the passion in you, because all the thoughts that we have, we can create our world And when we live with intention, our life will have a purpose. So here's a toast to our strong women. May we know them, may we be them, and may we raise them. Happy Women's Day to all of you.
Dr. Anita Surinarayan is an MD in pathology with trainings in immunohematology and cytopathology. From teaching to a consultant pathologist to her stint at Jeevan Blood Bank, where she connected with the founders of Lister Laboratory, which was eventually bought over by Metropolis Healthcare. She is now their Vice President Operations. Being innately passionate about quality assurance, her career instinctively diverged to quality assurance of the South at Lister Metropolis Healthcare. She has completed certificate courses in clinical trials, finance for non-finance, management administration, and has written articles and paper publications. We will now hear her fascinating story. Over to you, Anita.
It's so good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for Jayashree and for the IUD for having invited me to speak. I'm speaking after 3 years on a platform like this with a mic and a podium. None of us have been there for that much time over the period of COVID. And so if I'm a little stingy, please forgive me for that. Thank you for letting us speak first. I must really thank you very much for that. It was a real compliment. And I request the ladies to please give an applause. These fine gentlemen who have stood by women throughout and also today made us speak. What about me? I never wanted to be a doctor. Let me be very frank with you. I was very happy doing just anything, just living life the way it was. But my father thought very differently. He thought that, you know, a woman should be able to be financially independent. Perhaps he had learned over a period of time when we were, you know, at one time we had to be separated from Pakistan to India. He was during those phases. So somewhere along the line, he felt that a woman must be independent. So today I am a medical doctor because of him, because he insisted that no, you should study, you should do well, and you should be able to stand up on your own 2 feet, which is what we did. And so here I took the least resistance, though I was not very great in, was okay in clinical, and everybody said, why didn't you do gynae and obs? You could have done pediatrician, you could have done, you know, medicine, you could have done anything else. Why pathology? So I thought pathology was the easiest thing that I could do. And it was just like sitting behind a microscope and handling all these instruments and giving reports. I mean, what else one would think a pathologist does? And even today, you'll be surprised. Many people think pathologists do that only. They don't do anything beyond that. So I said, fine, let's do pathology. And we did. I cleared my MD. And then I married my husband. He's an orthopedic specialist. And he decided that Mumbai, I'm from Bombay. So Bombay was not good enough. Let's come to Chennai, Madras in those days. Now, though I had married into a Tam-Bram family, I didn't know a word of Tamil, believe me. And when I came here, it was like a culture shock for me, because 30 years back, what Chennai was or Madras was is not what it is today. I didn't know anything about buying small things. I didn't know cooking, to be very frank. I didn't even know how to look after a house because I had lived in a hostel all my life. So these are the life learnings that you have to learn, that I have to stand, I have to manage. Top of that, I had brought a 3-month baby along with me also. So nothing I knew about babies either. And nor did I know who to go to if there was trouble. But anyway, time went along. And when my second daughter came, I decided that I must go to work. So having been in Bombay and having been, you know, you're used to the transport system and you're used to the way we work, I mean, trains and things. Chennai was it was a little rude rush because I didn't know how to reach. My first job was in Savita Dental College, and that was, you know, where. So I had to get up at 7 in the morning. And most of us as North Indians are not great in getting up early in the morning, but I had to do that. And I had to go by the PTC bus, which used to go, I think it's 47 or 53 or something from Punamali College. And then people used to be taking fish and all, you know, early morning vegetables and things. But you've done it. I wanted to work. That was the only thing. And it was my father's thing that you must be independent. So whether I was earning 2,500 going all the way there, or whatever it was, but I was determined to do it, come fish, come anything, come whatever it is, and made my way there. Like Buddy said, was very fortunate that I did meet, you know, the founders of Lister as well as Jeevan Blood Bank, because I had done blood banking most of the time. And I did meet him, and then we joined. I used to work part-time for Lister, do cytology and do histopathology reporting. And then soon as this merger was happening, so we have a gentleman who knows all about mergers. So anyway, this merger happened and we became Metropolis Healthcare, though still we are known as Lister. So one day I just learned, maybe it was a lesson. As I said, I didn't know much Tamil, and a patient did come. A patient came and I was talking to the patient, and the patient understood whatever it was. I explained to whatever it was, and you know, he went off quite happily. Then I saw that all the receptionists, technicians were all looking at me and laughing. So I turned around and I saw Dr. Srinivasan. I owe a lot to him, standing behind me. And then he asked these people, why are you laughing? Sir, her Tamil, did you hear her Tamil? So he said, so what? That patient came, that patient spoke, that patient understood every word she said. He has gone back satisfied. So the important thing is communication. You must learn how to communicate. If a Hindi speaking person comes, you always look for her no matter where she is. But you have to learn to communication. And that was my first lesson. We need to communicate. It doesn't matter whether you communicate by a smile, by a face, by just a gesture, by whichever way it is, but communication. Be it your bosses, be it your children, be it anyone else. That was the first lesson that I learned. The second one which we learned was timeliness. You know, timeliness is so very important. Today, it has got transcript into what we call as STAT, that it was so important in the last 2-3 years when COVID results had to go no matter what. And we were working at night, we were working at day, we were working 24 hours, but we had to ensure that that report needed because the patient required it. And this is what we are working towards: timeliness, respect for my time, respect for everybody else's time, and keep to that thing which helps all of us to do as Indians. And I think we are learning now. We really never learned what is time and how we should be able to respect it for others. Dedication and completion of jobs is another thing which I learned during my course, that we should complete whatever it is time. And I have tried to instill the same in my two daughters. I have two daughters. Complete your job, whatever it may be. It may be a lot of work one day, it may be less work, but there's no point saying that the lot of work I can do tomorrow because I have nothing to do tomorrow. You enjoy tomorrow. You have nothing to do, go for a movie, go out with your friends, have a ball. But that's what you can do. None of us don't go through this ups and downs. And, you know, there are days when we just don't know what to do. The children are sick, the maid has not come, you've got to go to work, you have an important meeting. All these things are happening at the same time. And somehow you make it. And if you really feel down and out, well, then that's what friends are for, just to cry on their shoulder. So these are the ones which we learned. When I took, as I said, I thought I was doing medicine and I was to do only pathology. What I didn't know, this baggage which was handed over to me, that you take care now, it had things like profit and loss statement. They had things like EBITDA. It had things like balance sheet. It had things like HR and management. It had also things like administration, human resources, materials, material costs, so many things, none of which I knew nothing of because we are not trained that way. But that doesn't mean you give up and say, no, I will not learn all this and let somebody else handle. So I did what I could. I did the training which came for administration. I did training which was done for me for finance, for non-finance people. And believe me, those people had a very tough time putting this non-financial bit into my head, but I learned. And of course, we have learned a lot from, so that helped a lot all through the way. We've been acquired once. We were Lister, we became Lister Metropolis. Today, we have acquired another lab here, that's high-tech. So now we have high-tech in our breeds. The field is growing. There is enough opportunities for everything and everyone. And women should be the task force. Our managing director and promoter is so with it. She says that every single person should have. We have opportunities which we give other people, like work from home if they have required for, the families or some things. But those are things which I think as women, we should take it towards the last resort and put our best foot forward. We've had wonderful opportunities here to speak in front of everyone and all of you also. And I just feel that let's put our best foot forward, because we are the rock solid people. We are emotional, but we are strong. We are thinkers and we are strong. We can take the strength of the whole world with its illness and everything about us and still carry on. So we are the world, ladies. And please, happy Women's Day to everyone.
Our chief guest, Honorable Thiru S. Krishnan, has a service record of more than 30 years and holds many accomplishments. To name just a few: Senior Advisor in the Office of the Executive Director for India in Sri Lanka, Bangladesh and Bhutan in the International Monetary Fund, Washington, D.C., representing the Government of India in the G20 export groups on international financial architecture and global financial safety nets. He was the founder CEO of the Tamil Nadu Infrastructure Development Board. Through his multiple roles as a public administrator, he has demonstrated expertise in the aspects of policy making, public finance, and socio-economic development issues. His perceptivity will radiate on this topic: women leaders in business, challenges and opportunities. Focus, Tamil Nadu.
Good afternoon to all of you. Your Excellency, Consul General of Russia in Chennai, Mr. Lalit Kumar, the Chartered Accountant and Cost Accountant. He's a lot of other things alongside of LKR Advisors LLP, Mrs. Sundari Suresh, Mrs. Jayashree Ravi, Buddy, my good friend who's just introduced me, the three real success stories and the heroes of this evening, Ms. Anupama Shivaraman, Dr. Vijaya Rangarajan, and Dr. Anita Surinarayanan, and ladies and gentlemen. This is what stands out amongst women leaders: the ability to be flexible, the ability to think on their feet. Some guy comes along and makes an arbitrary change in the program and they are game, and they make it happen. So I think that's really what it is about, the ability of women and the adaptability that they bring to a boardroom, which is important. An important reason why I accepted the invitation to be at this event today, although it's a slightly packed day, was because it was an event of the Institute of Directors, and the Institute of Directors basically is looking to talk with people, interact with people who are directors in companies, right? Who are in leadership positions, literally. And quite honestly, we don't have enough women in those positions in this country. We struggle to find at least one women director in each board, which is what we actually require by law. And each time we are looking to find that somebody should be put there to play that role. And anytime that we find a good women director, and we very frequently do, extremely capable ones, especially the independent directors that I have encountered on a number of company boards, they add significant value and significant performance. So I thought it would be an important occasion to actually encourage more and more women to take up this particular role. Having said that, I'm also struck by the composition of the audience today. Last week, I was speaking at another event which was organized by another industry association, which I shall not name. And it was interesting that we were talking about the state of Tamil Nadu's economy. And when you reflect on Tamil Nadu's economy, you need to realize how much it is powered by women today and how much more it needs to be powered by women. One of the significant implications there is that, see, we are not as an economy, as a state, we don't have the demographic dividend that the rest of India has. We were early adopters of the small family norm. The two doctors are here, and I'm sure they'd vouch for this. Our fertility rate today is 1.7 or thereabouts, well below the net replacement rate of 2.1. The population is aging. The population above 60 in Tamil Nadu is 10% more than what it is in the rest of India. The population in the 15 to 59 age group, which is defined as a working age group, is about 7% less already than the rest of India. When they say India is young, it's true for most of India except Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Kerala is a little worse than us. This is significant. This is significant because this state has to grow now. It's now or never. If we don't grow economically now, then we will grow old without ever having grown rich. That is the risk that we face. And how do you do this? Most economies grow fastest when they have the largest population in the working age group of 15 to 59. And all of them are there to contribute to economic growth. That's when they grow the fastest. We have a situation, unfortunately, in Tamil Nadu for various reasons, and I'll come to that, where the work participation rates are dropping. People's willingness to turn up for work is actually falling away. And the work participation rate for women in particular, the labor participation rate, has actually been dropping more significantly. Number of reasons. One significant reason is that their enrollment in higher education has gone up by quite a lot. Right? Many of them are in higher education, which is a good thing. But other reasons include that the workplace is not as friendly as it should be. The workplace is not what it should be. And we certainly need them to participate a whole lot more if the economy has to grow. So, I mean, apart from everything about individuals, I'm not here to plead a case saying, please follow your dream or your passion. I'm here to say, make an appeal saying, we need you. We are desperate, right? We need women to participate. The country needs you. The state needs you. The economy needs you. That is the situation we are at as an overall economy, which means that, what is it would take to ensure that more of women participate in the workforce is what becomes significant. And in that context, honestly, I mentioned that I was at this event where we were talking about Tamil Nadu's economy, and this was one of the important themes. And I noted that the audience probably had about 5% of women in it, about a crowd of about 300 people and about 5 women, maybe a sprinkling, about 15 of them. And the stage had nobody, unlike today. So you had this situation. Participation would be about 10% or so, or 7 to 8%. I only wish Today it was the other way. Probably we really need to be talking to men about this message. And I really wanted to hear from the three lady leaders present as to what their thoughts were, what drives them, what takes them forward, because that's a message we need to take to a much larger audience. We need to take the younger ones amongst you here present, need to take this message, and we need to take it out to a much larger audience, because we actually need participation in a far more meaningful and significant way in the economy. And that is, you know, the Tamil Nadu dimension. And let me tell you, I mean, there are many, many, many interesting stories about how women are effective in many, many jobs, and have been for many years. You know, many years ago, she said that I've spent about 30 plus years in the civil service. It's true, I have. And I'm, you know, I mean, like I said, I'm quickly going to be, or not in fairly quick time, I'm going to be the other side of the working age group. So, but having said that, even 30 years ago in 1990, I remember I went to as a trainee, I went to this bottling plant, a distillery plant, where the entire, as part of my training, the entire workforce were women, right? About 99% of them were women. And when you ask them saying, you know, why so many women here? He says, no, it's in a bottling plant where we distill or where we bottle liquor, the safest thing is to employ women. So that was the mindset then. Today, when I visit a number of factories and I visit a number of other places where we need to look at what needs to happen, you find that many companies prefer to employ women in the workforce, simply because they're more disciplined, they work in a more organized fashion. But I think if you look at that entire Foxconn episode, it'll also teach you that they can't be taken for granted. I mean, they will stand up for their rights. So that's a good change. I see that happening all the time. Sometimes these changes take a long time. I mean, let's just take one little example. History tells us that the first time the International Women's Day was celebrated on March 8th was in 1911, right? It was a more left-wing kind of movement. And for a very long time, it was in the former Soviet Union that they actually observed the International Women's Day. Till 1977, almost 66 years later, when the UN recognized that it was International Women's Day, and it became an event that we all celebrate with so much of verve. So something which was not mainstream at all, something which seemed almost fringe to the rest of the world, took 60 odd years to become mainstream. We can't afford that kind of delay for women to be mainstreamed into the economy. It needs to happen not in 66, but in less than 6 years. So that is what really needs to happen in terms of them taking up leadership positions. In every way, they are as capable as any one of us. I remember many years ago, you know, when I joined, and I've seen these changes over my own civil service career. 1992, I was an undersecretary in the finance department, and we used to spend late nights in the secretariat. So we'd go home because budget work would keep us up till 1 and 2 in the morning. There were no women at all in any of those sections, no women. 2011, I came back to do work in that in 20 years' time. It had changed. Almost about 30% of the people there were women. When I stepped out of the secretariat, even at 2 in the morning, we had women policemen, policewomen, police constables standing there providing security. So they were there. They'll do they're capable of doing any of this. And, you know, one of my favorite stories about what women are capable of and what they can achieve. In the mid-90s, I recall Tamil Nadu introduced this policy that 30% of the recruitment into government jobs will be of women, right? So they recruited the first cohort. Till that point, you know, teachers, nurses, all of those, we had a lot of women. We had very few women in other administrative and other positions. So for the first time, they recruited 30% women into the police. So we had a large number of women police constables, young girls, 22, 23-year-old. And I just had gone as a district collector. So the SP didn't know what to do with the women. So he said, look, can I put them on security detail in the collector's bungalow and the SP's bungalow and things? So that's the first duty that all these girls did. And I mean, of course, they would march off every evening if my wife wanted to go for a walk. So she had this detail of 2 lady policemen who would go along with her. And that seemed to be the best that we can use them for. And those were days in the late 90s when we had a few communal clash issues in that district. So one day, with no option, the SP, we had to deploy about a whole platoon strength of these girls, 30 girls, at a particularly troublesome spot. And then the DSP came back and told me the next day, sir, and there were a number of incidents on that day all over the place, and everyone was complaining, this happened, that happened, the police opened fire, they did this. And then there was this at one spot where these 30 girls were there, and then there was this mob of some 200 men, and these girls charged them, lathi charged them, and beat these guys black and blue. Normally they'll come and complain, saying, you know, the police has done this, police has done that. Not one complaint. Not one guy came and told us that, you know, there had been a police excess, and we managed to control the situation. So that is what women truly are capable of. And that's something that I've seen in my career. I worked as, you know, as I heard stories from recollections from all of that, Mrs. Anupama Shivraman's experiences of, you know, growing up in Hyderabad are not very different from my own. And only thing is, I was the younger boy sibling with an older sister, and I always get unfavorably compared with her, saying, you know, look at how studious she is, look at how organized she is, look at how well she does, and look at how you are. I mean, it's another story that, you know, it took a while. And so probably I started really doing well only after I left home and went to a hostel, but that's a different story. But yes, I mean, you do get put down when you have, you know, elder sisters who are very, very organized and very capable with what they do. But equally, you also have situations where I think it's a question of the opportunities they have. As I was preparing for the civil service exam, I remember I had a classmate and she's still a dear friend. And she was like me, daughter of another civil servant. And so I occasionally I'd be over at their place for dinner or something. And then, so she tells me, you know, I'm sick of studying for this exam. It's painful. I've decided, in Hindi, she told me, London se rishta aaya hai, main ja rahi hu. So I said, you know, I complained bitterly to her parents, you know, this is not fair. You know, how can she have this one option that I don't have, you know? How can she have this one option that, you know, I don't have? I have to get to work. But life has changed a lot, and life has changed significantly. And I think over the 3 decades, it's something that we have seen in terms of where we need to place women, the way in which they need to take all the leadership roles, and the way that they have been successfully taking them on. I've worked with a number of colleagues. I've worked with seniors. I've worked with bosses who are women, and every inch is capable, not an inch would they yield. And my favorite story about balance is actually about somebody I trained. I used to be a civil service trainer for about 4 odd years in Missouri, where the National Academy of Administration is. And in one of my batches, I had this young girl who had just had a baby. And normally they don't let you know, people who have young babies join the course. But this time we made an exception. We said, you know, otherwise she'd lose a year. So bring her in and let her do what she needs to. And the training program can be quite rigorous. You know, you wake up people, they'll be down in freezing temperatures in Missouri at 6 a.m. They need to be down for physical training, and you keep them engaged the whole day till 10, 11 at night, and then they have to produce assignments the next day and so on. It can be quite taxing. But even with this young baby, this girl was, you know, she's now a joint secretary posted in Delhi. She'd be very meticulous. So she knew that the time she had was the time in the classroom. She would always be bang on time. She would be there for that duration. She would make her notes. She would do everything that she needed to be. She had no time after class to catch up or anything. So she'd stay focused. She'd read what she needed to. She'd follow everything in class, make her notes, then go away, attend to her baby, do what she needed to, come back. So no time to waste, no time to. And then by the time we came to the end of the course, all the other guys and some of the other girls also would come to borrow her notes saying, you know, you were attentive in class, why don't you tell us? And she did exceptionally well. So she did manage the challenge of doing a tough, intense course alongside actually working very hard and, you know, making sure that her family also was brought up at the same time. So they honestly have the ability to do it all, and which I can frankly admit I don't. So when she says, I mean, we are capable of multitasking, I can very well believe it. Multitasking is something that I know we get focused, we get lost, we forget about what needs to happen. And, you know, this, my wife tells me all the time, you have this option of saying, okay, bye, I'm going to work. And then you don't have to think back as to what's going to happen. Somebody takes care of it at home. So clearly, I mean, there's a tribute to be paid here. Clearly, there are many challenges that successful women with careers overcome, and they're successful men also. One of the most successful women with a career lives not far from here. My former Chief Secretary, Tamil Nadu's former Chief Secretary, Girija Vaidyanathan, who's a very fine civil servant and at the same time a very, very successful mother. I mean, she's probably the envy of most of them, and touch wood, I hope it stays that way. So, I mean, people like that, there are very many inspiring stories, and not an inch do they give at work and not an inch do they give up at home is the way that they function. So the ability to balance both, the ability to take on more leadership roles, you really need to seize it. I think nobody is holding it back from you. And I think people will happily yield those leadership roles to you. You just need to take the flood, overcome any diffidence you have. Don't worry about, you know, will I be able to do it? Most of them will be 100% totally able to do it. Because fundamentally, and I make this again, let me repeat this as an appeal. It's not something, it's purely in self-interest. It's not that I'm saying this because, okay, we are making space or anything, nothing of that sort. There is a vacuum there, there's space there, there's always room at the top. You just have to take it, and we need the people, we need more capable hands. All hands on deck is literally the way it needs to go. The next 10 years are crucial, and probably even after that, you will need to do this. So every bit of this is something that we need to have. There are excellent role models, any number of role models who have done it before you, who are trailblazers, and we've heard from 3 of them. So certainly this is something that an inspiring message we need to take away today on International Women's Day. And of course, it's significant that we've all overcome, you know, through COVID. Most of us have shed our masks. We are in a room, in a closed air-conditioned room and speaking. So it's something that we have overcome, and something that as a society, as a country, as a global community, we need to overcome in the days to come. And certainly all of you all who are present here will probably do more than your fair share of lifting, as you have already done. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And held numerous positions in diplomatic level for Russia. And he was served as a consul general for the Russian Federation in countries like Bangladesh, Islamic Republic of Pakistan, and Republic of India. Currently, he is serving as a consul general of Russian Federation in Chennai, Republic of India, and he will be delivering speech on female leadership in the context of entrepreneurship in Russia. May I now request Mr. Oleg to deliver this speech, please.
So, Mr. Krishnan, Additional Chief Secretary to the government. Ms. Jayashree Ravi, Chairman, FICA Fellow Chennai, Dr. Sundari Suresh, Regional Manager, Institute of Directors, and Mr. Lalit Kumar, Partner in Chartered Accountant. So good afternoon to everybody. So first of all, I would like to felicitate ladies on the International Women's Day and wish them all the best. Russian women first observed International Women's Day on March the 2nd, 1913. They held a demonstration in St. Petersburg, which was then Russia's capital, and demanded the right to vote. On March 8, 1917, women organized another mass demonstration. The provisional government of that time granted Russian women the right to vote. While universal suffrage was still a dream for most of the Western countries, in Russia, it was a dream come true. And here I should give credit to Mr. Krishnan for a very good knowledge of history of Russia. International Women's Day has been a national holiday in Russia since 1918. It became a non-labor day in 1965. Today, it is a holiday to honor motherhood, beauty, and of course spring, because spring comes in the first week of March. International Women's Day is celebrated in other countries around the world, but in Russia, it is not just an official public holiday. It is really a festive occasion for everyone. This holiday is most often celebrated in the family, and another popular choice is to celebrate the International Women's Day by visiting friends. Men present flowers, postcards with poetry, and other pleasant gifts to their mothers, wives, grandmothers, sisters, and daughters. The gifts that Russians give on this day depend on many factors. A few things to consider are how close one is related to a woman and what kind of a gift one can afford financially. Flowers are the most popular gift choice on March the 8th. Some people like to give money or gift cards so that women could pick the best present for themselves. The list goes on as tastes differ, but the rule of thumb is to give something that will please the woman. Some Russian men like to undertake all household duties on this day so that women can enjoy a full day of rest. Since the International Women's Day is a non-working day in Russia, office workers celebrate it just the day before the holiday. In companies and organizations, all women receive flowers and small memorable gifts from their male co-workers and from employers as well. During the lunch break, it is customary to have a small office tea party with a cake. However, the traditional way to celebrate is at home among friends and family. In contemporary Russia, March the 8th is first of all the day of warm feelings and excitement. Russians think of it as a tradition or an opportunity to make a pleasant surprise to women folk. Interestingly, Russian women often consider March 8th a day of pleasant emotions and high spirits. At the same time, Russian men find the holiday to be a good reason to please the fairer sex. It is not required to buy an expensive gift to show that one cares about a person. Many women will be pleased to receive a postcard with a poem and a few words of congratulations. Even if one is away from his wife, mother, grandmother, or sister, one can always send her a postcard and write an email. The modern discourse of women employment is focused on the point that women capabilities are underestimated and the potential of soft power is not sufficiently used in politics, economics, and diplomacy. It is absolutely true that favorable conditions for the active participation of women in economic activities significantly increase the contribution to the great domestic product. In Russia, as you all know, there is no gender bias at all. One can find women in every walk of life, and the reel we have prepared, and you may see after this, is a vivid testimony to this. I can mention several names of women who made spectacular career in politics and diplomacy, and the most notable of them is the chairperson of the upper house of the Russian parliament, and also the election commission of Russia is headed by a woman. There are also, I would like also to mention 2 instances of outstanding careers in business. Just 2 examples, but they are very illustrative. There is one, there are of course enough female entrepreneurs in Russia, but some of them made really big careers in business. And one is Mrs. Natalia Kasperskaya, which was born in Moscow in 1966 and graduated from the Moscow Institute of Electronics and Mathematics with diploma in applied mathematics. In 1997, Natalia, together with her husband, Eugene Kaspersky, founded Kaspersky Lab and she became its chief executive officer. Over 10 years of her supervision, Kaspersky Lab startup turned into a remarkable leader of global IT market with 500 million in revenue. In 1999, the Kaspersky couple divorced, but Natalia continued to be at the company as the company's chief executive officer until 2007. Over time, disagreements over how to develop their shared business emerged, so they decided to split and divide the business. Natalia received Kaspersky Lab subsidiary InfoWatch. The company offers innovative and effective corporate data and enterprise protection against information leakage and the most pressing internal and external threats. InfoWatch was founded in 2003, and it was well ahead of its time. In 2012, the company became profitable for the first time ever, and it began to grow by 60–70% a year. The Russian data loss prevention market is still not very big and is no more than 10 billion rubles, but half of the market is currently controlled by this company, InfoWatch. And the company's clients include state agencies, largest banks, oil companies, and telecommunications operators. There is another interesting, and I would also want to say that this lady, Natalia Kasperskaya, was named by Forbes Woman as one of the richest women in Russia, with a fortune of $270 million. However, she herself is very skeptical about such ranking and considers money to be primarily a resource that can be invested in business. Another success story is Tatiana Bakalchuk, the founder and chief executive officer of Wildberries, which is the largest Russian online retailer and she is the country's first self-made woman billionaire. After graduating from university, she began working as an English teacher. In 2004, at the age of 28, while on a maternity leave, and she has 4 children, by the way, she founded the brand Wildberries from her Moscow apartment using her modest savings of just $700. In 2019, her company's value was estimated at $1 billion, which made Bakalchuk the second woman in Russia to become a billionaire. In 2020, Forbes magazine reported that she was worth $1.4 billion, making her Russia's richest woman. Of course, these 2 are very outstanding examples, but there are many more examples showing that the Russian women can succeed as business women also. And just concluding my speech, I would like to quote words of a great Russian poet, Nekrasov, who wrote much about Russian women. And also he had dedicated some lines to the outstanding qualities of Russian women, saying there are women in our settlements who can stop a running horse and fearlessly and enter the burning house to save her children. So once again, I would like to greet you on this very auspicious day and also to wish you all the best. Thank you so much.
Mr. Lalit Kumar, as a chartered accountant, cost accountant, company secretary, and certified financial manager, has over 15 years of experience in valuation of business and due diligence, special analytics related to fraud detection, as well as financial investment for companies. He is advisor to multiple startups for their growth and acts as a virtual CFO for many of them. He is the founder partner of LKR Advisors and advises corporates as well as HNIs for wealth management. He will brainstorm us with his talk, Successful Investment Journey for Womanpreneur. Go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, thank you so much. Before, I put across the presentation, I had something 7-8 slides to showcase across. And it put me in thinking whether should I be speaking something, orally just like this, or should I have something? And being a Marwadi, right? Dhande ki baat hai, right? So you have to put numbers to make an impact for people to understand what I'm going to do. And then I made the presentation. So my wife is also a company secretary. So when I said this to her, saying that, hey, I'm going to speak on this, and I had a completely different presentation. And then she said, hey, Lalit, look, these are all the areas, today when we discuss, which are completely missing. I'm going to showcase something which is very straightforward and simple. I mean, there's no rocket science. It's a straight, I mean, you'll say, hey, Lalit, what's this, right? But the hardest point is the execution of what I'm going to say. I have interacted with more than 2 lakh people, traveled length and breadth across India, and have found this 3 principles which I'm going to discuss today, which is going to evolve and change. And my wife said that, hey, there'll be a lot of them in the room who are CEOs, CFOs of the companies who are there. I have interacted with many of them on the ground level, that team members who are there, they have absolutely no clue in terms of how do they plan their journey for life, right? More so during COVID time, it made me realize and hit very hard, saying that many of them have, I mean, you know, many of our clients suddenly expired. They had absolutely no one to take care of. And they had no clue in terms of what to be done next. How many bank accounts are there? You know, what is the wealth they have? Where is the cash being kept? What are all the liabilities being there? And the first thing which I did is I have a brown bag at home, which has everything, right? Starting from my passwords to the accounts to, you know, insurance policies, everything which can take care of me and my family, you know, if towards of untoward incident of them for next 20 years, right? So, I mean, you need to plan for it, and it's high time that one gives big amount of emphasis, which is being there. Yeah, can I have the presentation? Mind you, just 1% of India's population is invested, right? You might get a feel that my presentation is more towards equity markets or capital market investment. Probably I would have kept that intentionally. But the message to drive home today is, if you learn 3 new things from this, I think my job is fairly done, right? Before we start, I have a video to be shown. I mean, if you can just, sorry, I don't have a slider presenter to move across slides, so I may have to request them.
Hello everyone. Thank you so much for coming to help us conduct this experiment today.
We were of different ages. We were made to like stand in a line.
Now I'm gonna ask you a bunch of questions. If your answer is a yes, step forward. If it's a no, please step back. Here goes. Ready? Did you learn how to ride a bicycle before the age of 10? Did you learn music in school? Did you take any lessons in sports? And no, video games are not a sport, even if it has the word game in it. Did you learn how to iron your clothes while still in school? Take a step forward. If not, take a step back. If you can make tea or breakfast, not just for yourselves, please step forward. If not, take a step back.
In the beginning, I think the questions were more general. People were still going forward and backward. Questions like, it was funny to see like the cooking question. There were a lot of men who went ahead and there were women who were going behind.
Do you usually make all the household bill payments yourself? Do you know the circle rate in your area? Do you know the price of gold today? Do you know the exact breakup of your salary?
As the questions unfolded, the stark difference came out visibly.
Do you know the details of the financial documents you're asked to sign? Have you bought a vehicle in your own name without consulting anybody? Have you bought insurance policies unassisted? Do you watch or follow the budget?
Like you think you're doing okay, but then you're like, okay, these are kind of important things that I don't look at.
Do you manage your own finances and earnings unassisted? Do you know how to invest in mutual funds? Do you know the difference between a mutual fund and an SIP? Do you make the investments for your family members or your spouse? Do you file your own income tax return? Now everyone who's in front, Could you please turn around and look behind you? Initially, when you guys started moving, there wasn't such a big gap. My question is, when did this gap start to occur?
The minute the questions became about managing money, the gap between men and women became very clear and evident.
You know, women handling certain responsibilities regarding their own life, which were always passed on to someone else in the family or the men.
There was a slight unfairness I realized at that time. But at that point, it seemed normal.
I was upset. I wanted to be at the front of the line. It's like, why don't I know this? Why am I not confident enough to say, yes, I am able to understand this?
It was quite an eye-opener for me because I always depended on the men of the family to take care of my investments and, plan my future.
I felt that obviously men are more into it than women. So eventually I did expect the gap to be there.
Over the years growing up, there were certain very traditionally masculine tropes that were assigned for him and certain traditionally feminine tropes that were assigned for me.
For women, it's practically debarred to learn to know and to focus on money.
I wish I had known from the beginning of my childhood and kind of thought about that I would be doing so much better.
Just actionable measures is what we want, really.
Every single time I see this video, it gives me a goosebumps kind of moment. I don't know. I'm not going to comment on it, whether this is right, wrong. I'm standing over here in front of a very highly educated audience. But like I mentioned, right, having seen in my last 15 years of experience, I made this as a goal that, at some point of time, from managing money for HNIs, I need to push myself to start pushing people for financial literacy. And this begins at school level. I've been fighting with government officials at organizations. We don't have a curriculum at school level to have and speak about finance, right? I mean, the first time you hear the word finance is at second or third year of your college life. It becomes very clear. I'm going to put across over here 5 or 6 goals or aspiration each one of us in this room has, right? And these goals, you can just get back to the presentation, please. Next slide. Next slide. Just click one after the other. To me, these are all the 6 goals which we have. Typically for us, retirement, raising a child, education, marriage, being debt-free, taking care of your life expenses, mediclaim, term life, which is going to be there. And probably if I have to give across and consolidate all of this at a very, very healthful life. This becomes very important. Now, how do you achieve these goals? I think 2 or 3 good key things to do is start early investing in life. And many of you would have heard the power of compounding, right? I'm going to show you how the power of compounding is going to work. You can have the next slide, please. Just keep clicking on it. Next, 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 next. Next. These are all the various asset classes. So broadly, this slide will say you that, hey, look, there are traditional asset classes which people have been investing across. Your so-called real estate, PPF, National Savings Certificate, 95% of them will have it on fixed deposit. The second asset class is the mutual funds, the equities, your exchange traded funds, and the gold ETFs. And the third, the so-called new crypto assets as well as digital assets. How do you allocate assets? What is available, right? As a thumb rule, which I say, 100 minus your age is equivalent to the asset allocation for equity which you need to make across. So assume that you're 40 years old, 100 minus 40, 60% should be your equity allocation. Typically, if you invest in right assets at an early stage of life, the power of compounding is going to take care of the entire scenario. Just keep clicking on, please. Or probably I'll have to, just speak. I mean, I can just speak across. Typically, you will see that many of these assets, when rightly invested at right point of time, you have the power of compounding work across to you. In the next slide, you will see a person A who has invested early in his life, who was just 25 years old. Person B who has invested 10 years later, 35 years. Both of them investing same amount of 10,000 rupees on a monthly SIP. The difference will be stark. The person A at the time of retirement at 60 years old had a value of 50, 60 lakhs coming in. The person B at that point of time had a value of 5-6 CR, right? So investing just 10 years earlier is going to give you across a difference of compounding, which is 5 or 6x of what you would have given. Second is investing in an asset, say an FD, where you have an yield of 3% versus a equity mutual fund where you have 10-12% of return coming in. Again, the difference is huge. If you're starting on day one at 10 lakhs and both of them are starting at the same different assets, the person who has invested 10 lakhs on an FD will end up in the range of 30 lakhs. The person who has invested is going to end up at 70 lakhs. So stark difference is clearly visible in selecting the right assets coming in. Third, don't forget the inflation, which is going and killing us silently. Government might say that, hey, inflation in India today is 5-6%, right? Which might not be the true case. Just take up the fees of your kid at the school, right? You will see an inflation of 15-20%. Same with the health, medical expenses, which we are having. The inflation will be 15-20%. So your income has to grow at a level where this inflation is at least being sustained, or else the value of money is just going to deteriorate significantly. Go ahead. I think I have covered this across in terms. I have also covered this across in telling you which are all the right assets. Go ahead. Next. You can go to the final 2 slides where my message will be very clear. Do's and don'ts, very clear. I mean, one important thing which I have learned during the COVID period is please have a will ready. Have a discussion with your family. It's a very open discussion which you need to have. Many people hesitate in terms of having a discussion with respect to will, estate, assets being there. Life is highly uncertain, highly uncertain. I have friends who are in the age of 37, 38, all of a sudden gone, right? You don't know whether you need to cry or what do you have to do, right? Life is highly uncertain. Please have your back-end docs completely ready for the future being done. Next. I'm going to, of course, share this presentation with the IOD team so that they can circulate it across. Next. Who is this person? Many of you might be knowing her. Yeah, Radhika, absolutely. Brilliant story. Krishnan sir rightly mentioned that, today in India, we have just 4 or 5% of the women population. At our office, we have almost 50% as an equal kind of population being coming across. This single person to me changed the entire fate of investing journey, right? Single-handedly championed 2005. She is called a lady with broken neck. During her birth, she had complications. She is to be, now heading Edelweiss as a CEO. Started in 2005, Pakistan born, diplomat, completely changing the crux of where India is leading and heading today, right? So I think one lady where high credit should be given in terms of how she has championed the journey and leading a whole lost of, government officials in terms of where India should be making their next investment jump coming across. Next. I'm going to run you through across the final 2 slides, right? And this is a journey message, which is very crucial. Consider this as something which is completely, an experience which you will share. Honduras government, right? Honduras is completely, a category 5 storm. Every single year you have storms coming across and hitting them, and all the building collapses, bridge collapses. The government at that point of time invited the best of architects from the world, saying that, hey, look, build us something, build us a bridge which will withhold any sort of, hurricane coming across. In 1998, Honduras with a Hurricane Mitch, a category 5 storm. Entire Honduras was devastated, except this bridge, which was just standing there, right, tall. Many of them called it as an architectural wonder, saying that, oh my God, something, which is completely unexpected, or at least it should have been, right? But it did not. This Chaulitica bridge, the river which was passing below the bridge completely changed its course. You'll see in the next slide where, the river which was just going below the bridge is completely gone. Next, you'll see the two images which are going to come across. This was before and this after, right? What's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is how much ever you plan in life, there'll be occasions where you'll just be left with, an option where you won't be able to do anything. I had a client who planned all throughout his life, 25 years, earned about 2 crore for his kid's education, saying that he's going to go ahead, study at abroad. The kid decided to play golf, pro golf, which is 5x more than what he had saved all throughout his life, right? So there'll be moments in our life where how much ever you plan, you actually won't have a solution to it. You will have to let it pass by. And for rest of this and the rest of the other things, you will have to plan very, very well, way ahead in life. This was my message. Thank you so much for giving me an audience over here to speak across an important topic.
Thank you, Lalit Kumar. And now it is the time for felicitating. So we had inspiring stories from our iconic women leaders, especially from Ms. Anupama and Dr. Anita and Dr. Vijaya. So we really got inspired with your life stories, and thank you so much for running through this special occasion. Now we would like to felicitate you three. So I request Mr. Srinivasan, Regional Director from Institute of Directors, to present memento to our women speakers, especially the iconic women leaders who are given wonder women, I would say. So they've given us the inspiring speech. So I would call on Ms. Anupama Sivaraman on stage, please. Srinivasan is on the stage. Give a round of applause. Followed by Dr. Vijaya Bharati Rangarajan, Trustee and Director of Sundar Medical Foundation. On stage, please. Oh, she left, is it? Oh. Ms. Jayashima, can you type on her behalf, please? And next, Dr. Anita Suryanarayanan, VP Operation Metropolis Healthcare. Thank you. You can go back to your. So to give you all an introduction about IOD, it's called Institute of Directors. It's an apex professional body where we enroll corporate directors all over the country. And our motto is building tomorrow's board by facilitating the best boardroom practices and corporate governance. Institute of Directors organizes a lot of conclaves, summits based on investment conclave and business expansion and networking. And Institute of Directors has been over past 30-year-old organization. We have 31,000 senior executives and representing prominent organizations from private, public, and government sectors India-wide and increasingly worldwide. And IOD is known for annual flagship conventions on various topics such as corporate governance, sustainability, business excellence, corporate ethics, innovation, climate change, and environmental management in global cities such as London, Dubai, and Singapore. And it has witnessed the participation of global industrial leaders and political leaders and thought leaders. Speakers from across the world are always a part of Institute of Directors. And we are very, very proud to organize the Women's Conclave and give more momentum in this event to our women, especially who have come across and sparing their time for this event. We thank you, every woman here who will be participating in this event. Thank you a lot. And I would like to have our IOD prestigious members to be felicitated. Again, Mr. Srinivasan, I will request you on stage, please, to give awards to our IOD prestigious members. I would like to call Grunt Force Mr. Rajkumar, if he's there. Oh, is that, is it? Okay. Now followed by Mr. Dakshinamurthy from DD Projects. I request you on stage, please, to collect the monitor from Mr. Srinivasan. Give a round of applause, please. And next, Indian Bank, Ms. Valera, General Manager, if she's there. Okay. May I have Mr. Kannan Nandakumar from Satyam Homes? Oh, okay, on the behalf of Ms. Valera, okay. Mr. Kannan from Satyam Homes. Okay. CP Technologies, Ms. Jayashree. Please come onto the stage to collect the momentum. Next, India Siemens Capital, Mr. Suresh. Thank you, sir. And Maimati, Mr. Vikash. And BRT Academy, Dr. Ramakrishnan and Mr. Gayatri. So now we have a gratitude moment for our event partners. We thank all the event partners, Civic Technologies, Indian Bank, Hand in Hand Consulting, Eureka Hopes, Satyam Homes, Sri Lanka Polymers, Unipic, and iTech Dazzler, Etana. Without your support, this event would have been possible. And thank you so much for supporting our cause of, highlighting the Women's Day event along with Wiki Flow Chennai chapter. And now we're going to gratitude our partners. First is Civic Technologies. We have CP Technologies on stage, please. For the gratitude moment for partners. Now for Indian Bank, CP Technologies, please. And next is Indian Bank. Next, Hand in Hand Consulting. Anyone from Hand in Hand Consulting, please? Yeah, please. Satyam Homes? Anyone from Satyam Homes here? Okay. Eureka folks, please. Next. Sri Ranga Polymers, on stage please. Ranga Polymers on stage. And Unipeak on stage, please. Anyone from Satyam Homes? Okay. I-Tech Dazzler Etona. Thank you all the participants and the speakers and the sponsors. Yeah, I leave the stage.
To quote Anne Bridges, gratitude helps us to see what is there instead of what isn't. Mrs. Jyoti Thomas, Secretary Vicky Flo, will thank you for being part of this big event, and please do stay on to savor the delectable high tea aesthetically curated by Mrs. Rachna Kumar of Vicky Flo, Chennai. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the most difficult part, holding you all back at this time. Okay, you can have a cup of coffee and probably also listen in. That's the most we can ask. The gratitude moment is very much like our phrase. And thank you, IOD, for taking that. The moments of gratitude from Vicky Flo. I will first put the head there. On behalf of Vicky Flo, Jayashri Ravi, our chairperson, it gives me immense pleasure as the secretary. And today, interestingly, we have the flag, and I think all the ladies here should be listening to us. We complete a year, and this is one of our official programs for this year. Thank you, IOD, for connecting with us. A very big thank you to the Honorary Consul General of Russia. It is not only about ballet and the beautiful buildings, and I was just saying, interesting information about the women and the money that they can churn out. Thank you. Why our three ladies, the three lovely trinity who came up to speak, we can't let them go because they are just part of flow. They made today. I was sitting and I suddenly saw Inspirational, and something struck my mind, and I said, all the women are right there in. We can spiral down, we can inspire, we are rational. We can do almost everything. Thank you for the three lovely ladies who spoke. We need to be clapping. We had Anupama who said, quoted, and she said, you have to leave the crown outside. The women at Flow know to leave the crown outside and to fix other crowns too. IOD and Flow, today we were flowed with, honorable through Krishnan IAS's speech. How often do we get somebody who listens? Bang on. Tamil Magan, he let the women walk up. So we were touched, but again, somebody mentioned. Very interesting how he listened to everything everybody spoke. The share, thank you for having him with us. Ladan, you shared something and I'm going to share something back. You came and shared something on investment and very good information, greatly appreciated. You were sharing it to the bunch of women who are so buoyant and love to take it, plus the men around here. We've sat through investment programs, we've worked on will, and thank you for reminding us once again, we'll keep doing it over again. It's interesting that we are here today with so many members, good few food curated, but how can we not thank IOD? It's more than 2 months. I remember we've been talking to Sundari, Suresh. We were picky because Ficky is that. We wanted the best to be here. Thank you. Our gratitude goes to Lieutenant General Arvalia, President of IOD, Mr. Pradeep Chaturvedi, Vice President. May I kindly request the ladies at the back to kindly keep your voice down. Thank you very much. Mr. Manoj Rawat, CEO, Mr. Reggie Matthew. Sundari, we cannot forget, she's now like part of Ficky Flow. If you look around, just see the number of sponsors for the event. But Flow has a platinum sponsor, Satyabama, and we are ever so grateful for them. I would like to play from record those who sponsored for IOD, Indian Bank, SIFI, Eureka Forbes, Dazzle High-Tech, and Unidex. I want to also thank our lovely MC for this evening, Mrs. Madhi Bahadi. Madhi, thank you. And Rachna for curating this afternoon's nice meal. We always say, somebody at the start, they said, colorful women. And I said, colorful women. I'm going to make a little change to it. Wherever women go, color follows. So it is something which we don't differentiate between the different sexes or genders. Very briefly, if I have to say a thank you, while we fix the crown, we are here. We always say something like, where there's a will, there's a way. Where there's a woman, they will find a way. So today we have the gentlemen to witness, to see what we were doing, and IOD to support us through this wonderful afternoon. With this, I'm going to keep it very short. We are past 17 minutes past the hour. So without taking up more of your time, thank you all. Kindly applaud the entire team. Sundari, may I just request you to come up forward, because you have sort of been with us and we haven't been easy on you. I'm sure Jayashree will tell that. The number of con calls and the number of people we were churning, and the gentlemen who came here, we literally picked and chose and we wanted them. Thank you very, very much. And she has been very, very kind to the entire group. You have a whole bunch of women here who you will see them all as directors. So women in power. Today it is not just about Women's Day, it's about not an empowerment, advancement. With that, wishing you all a great day, and thank you to each and every one of you who has graced this occasion and has made this evening spectacular for us. Thank you and have a wonderful snack, high tea, whatever you like. Thank you very much. Come on, you are so good.
75 years of India's independence, and we at Indian Bank are glad to be a part of this journey. Over the past 115 years, Indian Bank has evolved to emerge as a pioneer in agri and MSME lending. Besides being a digitally formidable bank, keeping with the changing times and banking needs, flagship products like Ind Oasis mobile app, are complemented by innovations of Springboard, Adya, MSME Prerna and more. And the bank emerged as the 7th largest public sector bank and became twice as good. Indian Bank, your own bank, always with you.
One thing has remained constant as we continue to move from one milestone to another, our collective spirit of going beyond. We believe in pioneering and not just embracing the trend. SIFI began as a connectivity player to become India's first private internet service provider, creator of the Internet Cafe, enablers of voice and data service for international call centers. We believe in being comprehensive, not just a part of the whole. 2 decades and a whole lot of innovation later, we extended our DNA into the largest ICT ecosystem, data center and cloud services, network services, digital services, technology integration services. We believe in reaching out and not just expanding in numbers and figures. SIFI connects millions through the largest MPLS network, enterprise-class network infrastructure, 3,400 network nodes across India, 1,400 plus cities, 100G access metro rings in 5 cities, and 10G access metro ring in 4 plus cities, 110,000 plus enterprise end customer connects. India's largest data center and cloud infrastructure services, 10 existing top-of-the-line data centers and connecting 50